There we go. Well, hello. This is Crypto Mystic welcoming you to Pandora's Box official AMA on August 3rd, 2022. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we will be revealing a little bit more of what's in the box. Last week, we talked about technology and introduced you to some parts of the tech we're working on. And there's more. So today, we'll go deeper into other aspects of the technology we're developing. We will also bring examples of the friction in the cryptosphere of today and how we at Unbox are aiming to remove said friction in the cryptosphere of tomorrow. And as always, you will have a chance to ask questions. And there's one more thing, some questions have been posed in the group. So Joanna will be answering those questions today. So Joanna, you want to get us started today, my dear?
Yes. So we had this week 2 questions. I'll be replying to them now. The first one is the use of private sale funds. So these they have been used only for community engagement, such as the competitions that we have in our Telegram group, token development regarding the developer, also the audit, legal, such as KYC and NDA, web development, for the domain, the hosting, and also for the creation of our dear Unbox.team. So we have every month a monthly report of our financial part of Unbox, and this month's report is in the making. I'll be sending here now in our team, in our group, the link to the Medium. So feel free to explore other articles, including the financial reports that we already put out. So the team and the advisors, they have not taken any of the funds for themselves, as our compensation plan is based on revenue, and we won't have any until the pre-sale and pre-launch happen. This last point kind of adds up to our eagerness to get Pandora's running, but we want to do it in a smooth way. We know the responsibility that we carry. It makes kind of a bridge to the second question, since the question was, what is the team working on currently? As we previously introduced in our last AMA, part of our team has been working on a cross-ownership patent portfolio, so several patents. We are currently working to file, most likely in the coming week, our 3rd patent. So apart from that, we are connecting and strategizing in order to understand better, as we said, the possible routes that we can take for our pre-sale and for our launch as well, to optimize Unbox launch. We are looking for a balance in these connections, having the project, obviously, but the investors, and also these connections that we're creating in mind. What are these requirements and what are the implications from both sides? How can it benefit and how can we benefit each other? So because of the scope of the launch, it will help us position the project in the marketplace. These are actions that we are threading carefully. Now it's just an additional announcement. From now on, we will be doing bi-weekly AMAs. We have been doing for the last month or so, I believe, weekly encounters, and we'll be doing from now on bi-weekly AMAs. But besides that, we will still have written announcements and also impromptu AMAs and voice calls. So random, we see that someone in the community has a question, we would like to reply it in a voice chat, or we have a interesting discussion happening, why not just start a voice chat and talk to the community? Well, I guess that's it from me. Let me check if there are any questions in the team, in the group. No, I guess you guys can also write questions while we're talking, also for the next the next part. Yeah, I'll hand over to you, Crypto Mystic.
Thank you so much. Again, you posted a question in the group and he said, when peach cobbler? Peach cobbler for everyone, right? Well, I don't have, does anyone on the team have an answer to that question? Oh my goodness.
I had
Okay.
to DuckDuckGo that. It's a dessert, right? If you have it,
Yes.
Daniel, please just send it to us. I'd love that.
Maybe
Yes.
send a gift. Yeah, gonna get a GIF of it for everyone. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Joanna. So for the next section of today's EMA, we will be having Suryan talking to us about what else is in the box. Suryan?
Well, we're just going to go dig a little bit deeper into what is in the box. So in the last time we have, as mentioned before, we have been building a patent portfolio around identity, but also around NFT structuring and how to essentially keep track of how to keep track of what NFTs is correctly and whatnot. So we're working on systems to essentially make possible asset-backed NFTs in our daily life systems where there is verification systems that can make sure that you buy a house on OpenSea or you buy a house somewhere on an exchange. Like, how do you know that that is an exchange, that is a house that is backed under that NFT? How do you know that is not just somebody that has copied this one and make it looks exactly like it? And have verification systems to build around that. So a big part of this is what we call KYN, Know Your NFT. This will be one of the functions that Unbox will have coming up in the pike to make sure that we can actually open for the possibilities of the NFT marketplace that has been until now theorized, and many have tried and failed because of missing critical infrastructure. And this is one of the reasons why we're here, essentially. Another aspect of all of this is the security and authentication of the transactions and litigation sometimes.
So,
You're having a hard time
Suryan,
hearing you, buddy.
yeah, there's a lot of wind. I wonder if you can go to a more covered area and speak closer to your mic. It's hard to hear you right now.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, much. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So where were I? Around the authentication of transfer and whatnot. This is something else that we were hinting to last time. That is, we have a company that will be running something called NDI, non-hackable digital identity. By non-hackable, we mean that it would take brute forcing any like it would take any computer today combined even over 100 lifetimes. Wait, I have it here. Was it 100 lifetimes?
It's in the trillions of years. It's not even an issue, to be honest.
Well, how we stand right now, but I think the definition we had was 100 lifetimes or more for unhackable, which is a bold statement, but it's possible with today's encryptions. But we need to, yeah, I'm talking outside of my my direction here. Yeah.
Well, actually, I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to add to that. So you were talking about how we're working on making asset-backed NFTs, and then you did point out how there were some failures in the market. I have to be upfront and honest. I cannot remember the name of the project. It was very recent. I do believe it began with an L. Might have been Lux or something like that. But there was an NFT project that came out recently, and I was just skimming through news, and I saw this, and it impacted me a little bit. And I was like, okay, so this is what's going on now. So there are NFT creators, companies, teams that are essentially they're realizing the deeper value and power of the NFT. However, as Suryan pointed out, they're missing some critical infrastructure like legals and identity, and how do you handle identity? How do you handle that on the blockchain? I mean, hi everybody, this is me. Here's my wallet. I've got 10 million from a really awesome trade, and now you know exactly where I live. You know who I am and where I am, and yeah, we don't want to go through that. So we're having a very hard time crossing that threshold from what I can see. And due to the difficulty of crossing that threshold, we have events like this project that shall not be named, because I'm so sorry, dude. I literally scrubbed my socials. I can't find the name. Anyways, but they had essentially been selling properties as NFTs. Very, very well structured company, I must say. It was just their technology was defunct. That's all. And a whale that purchased X amount of property lost his wallet. Now, because said whale had acquired this property via an anonymous purchase, via an anonymous wallet, he could not prove that that was his wallet. He could not prove that this was his property. And so now there's literally property out there on this planet that has no legal owner at all. It's just completely unnamed now. Hopefully, for in his case, I hope that he has a way to prove that that's his property. But regardless, that's not something we want to perpetuate. This is not a situation that we need anywhere in the crypto sphere or in the traditional sphere at all. However, if we are going to attach identity to a purchase or a wallet, then we also need to, as we all know, that the saying goes in crypto, you are now your own banker, which means you are not paying anyone to be your security, your first line of defense for identity. You're not doing any of that, and now that entire system is now in your hands. You have to do that. So that's what we're trying to do here. Is to I'm sorry, it's not what we're trying to do. We were literally designing it, patenting it, and pushing it out. But that's our direction, is that we would like to find a way to not only take care of the small issue of this is no longer just a JPEG. It is now connected to real world assets. It's connected to other things that you may or may not consider valuable. But it is also, in an anonymous way, it is attached to your identity. So if that a question does arise and you need to find a way to prove that whatever is in that wallet is yours, you can. However, because you have that ability does not mean that anyone on the blockchain can look up your wallet and see exactly who you are and if you're a target or not for them. So we're trying to incorporate security on many levels and ease of exchange, more of a frictionless situation. That's all I have for that comment.
Thank you, Viking. And in the project that you mentioned, I think you told me that the whale in question was even went to court, like to try to legally retrieve his property, and because he couldn't prove it, the court
Yes.
said, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was, he, from what I understand, he was in court a couple times, and he just kept getting shut down. They're like, well, I'm sorry. It's great that you have a string of numbers here, but it has nothing to do with you, a purchase. It has nothing to do with anything that we can prove. So no, your request is denied. And heart goes out to the guy, but
Yeah.
but he should have also thought it through, in my opinion.
Right. So obviously this is something we aim to remedy.
I would say that this all is pointing at critical infrastructure pieces that needs to be reconfigured or refigured out, essentially. And it's pointing at the fact that we're still in very early days of crypto, essentially.
Yes. And so Suryan, did you want to add to this? I know, Olo, you had some comments, but Suryan, I wanted to give you the opportunity to add to this if you had another point.
I don't think.
Okay, we can come back to it. There was something else in the script, but we can come back to it. So Deckard, you're on deck. How's that? Okay, you get the floor.
Yeah. So just so everybody in crypto knows that you have a private key that is cryptographically encrypted by a seed phrase, 12 or 4 word, and just by nature of having a seed phrase as the recovery for your wallet is a risk. So in order to deal with this risk, people store their seed phrases cold off the internet. I have a friend that has his Bitcoin seed phrase, Bitcoin wallet seed phrase, separated into 3 different pieces in 3 different parts of the world, so that he can't access it easily, and so that it's challenging for anybody to put them together and hack his wallet. So just imagine if we didn't have to deal with that anymore, and our seed phrase was a biometric that was attached to us as an individual human being. And there was no longer any kind of seed phrase or anything like that that you had to remember or hide. And the only way to access your wallet was an individual biometric that's only capable of being produced by you as a human being. This eliminates so much risk that is by nature part of the crypto industry currently, and it simultaneously provides a way to prove ownership, because you're the only human being that can provide that private key.
Yeah, that's what a different world crypto would be with that, right? With the ability to just have that biometric linked to us, linked to our purchases, the NFTs, the safe transfer holding of our assets. I mean, it would just be a game changer, right? Thank you, Deckard.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That could also be instant access from anywhere around the world without without a moment's notice, no password remembrance, no nothing.
No
And-
flying home to crack your safe open and grab some titles and show them to a court. No, you just log in and you're done.
And the best part, non-hackable. Because we know how much fraud there is in the space. And every day there's another exploit, right? The last few days there were some pretty big, like Sol just got compromised. And anyway, it's endless. Okay, cool. Thank you, Deckard. Does anyone on the team have anything to add? Surian, did you have anything else? Viking?
I'm good for now. I'm actually more
Good for now.
curious as to what the community has to say about this. I mean, that's a pretty big claim for anybody
Mhm.
to show up, especially in cryptocurrency, where scams and rugs are just literally everywhere around the corner. Like, who are these guys showing up talking about, hey, you know what, let's give you all your own identities back to you. You own it unhackably. And oh, and by the way, we're gonna make some NFT stuff that you can go ahead and send stuff with instantly. I kind of feel like that garners some questions. I'm just, that's just where I stand. But yeah,
That's just you, Viking.
I would hope that the community would have at least a question on that point.
I think Daniel has been getting us prepared. He said he's been writing some questions and we needed to prepare ourselves. So this might be the moment that we opening up. It is the moment we're opening up. So we welcome your questions. Fire them up. Unless Ganya was trolling and he doesn't have any questions. He was just, trying to keep us on our toes. But I don't think that's the case. He usually does. He's a master griller. And you could also just ask them via voice too. I don't know if you were typing them up, Ganyo, or if you wanted to speak them into the chat here.
Seems like he has left the chat temporarily.
Oh yeah, he's actually maybe he was booted off. Okay. All right. So does anybody else? Well, Freya has a very nice question for Viking here. It's very sweet. Did you see the question in the chat, Viking?
I did not. I was handling something else. So let me check that out real quick.
It's worth looking. I can't ask that. You have to read it.
Let's see.
Oh, he's back.
Will you marry me again? Absolutely, baby doll. I'll marry you every day for the rest of our lives if that's what it takes.
Oh, so sweet. Okay. Okay, it looks like Ganyo, our master griller, is back. So
okay, so
you have the floor.
Oh, you're gonna regret letting me into this chat. Right. First things first. I wanted to ask some questions about the NDI, specifically the biometric part of it. So I understand.
I just wanted to point out your title. It says "Peace, Not War," or "Peace Over War." I just wanted to make that clear first, and then please continue.
Yes. Well, I prefer negotiation over. Well, let's call it hostile negotiation.
All right.
That's pretty much the idea behind it. It's better to get along with people than to make enemies, because the more you make, it just makes mountains much more difficult to traverse. Right. First things first, the NDI, the biometric function of it. I'm going to pose a scenario to you, and you're going to tell me sort of how you'd react to it. So I use the NDI. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I go to sleep. My family knows I store my crypto on there, What's to stop them from using my biometric whilst I am asleep, whilst I am unconscious, and gaining access to my accounts? What other secondary security measures are you going to implement in order to make sure that doesn't happen?
It is an excellent question.
Okay, so you're essentially asking if I have a biometric available for my login, what's going to stop someone else from using that biometric?
Precisely.
Okay, well, I actually need to clear this through our CEO. Can we speak of the particular biometric we're using?
He's give me a second. I'm gonna see if I can ask him that real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay,
I feel
well,
like
while
Maybe
she's,
we'll go to the
while
next
she's working on that,
question,
Okay.
and I'll be back. Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. I just feel
while
like I hit a gold mine there for a second. So
yeah, you did.
let-
But it's okay. I can explain it. So essentially, what we have done is we found a biometric that is very, very difficult to access. However, can be accessed quite easily, and with the amount of structured points within this particular biometric, we can create quite a large encryption. And then essentially what we're going to do is encrypt that again, and then we're going to encrypt it again, and then we're going to send it over the network, and then it will be unraveled from that point. And so that so essentially so the biometric that we have targeted, there is no way for anybody to get into that, even if say there was a corrupt doctor that could record this biometric. That doctor would have to essentially make an image, right? And then they would have to send it to a corrupted individual of some type, and that individual would try to use that image, but see, unfortunately, the image itself won't even help them get through this encryption. So we've looked at it from just about every single flipping angle we could find, and it is, yeah, it is literally unhackable.
We got the green light, so you
The
can
retina.
mention it.
So it's a retina scan, and due to the and I honestly I'm not deep into the technicals, so I can't explain it 100%, but due to the way that a retina scan is acquired and analyzed, this will create an encryption pass through SHA-3 that we cannot, you can't hack it. There's no Turing machine available right now that could hack it within a reasonable amount of time, and I'm talking many lifetimes. And we have also analyzed the peak. What we have believed to be the peak of Turing machine computation, and we have surpassed that peak. So the only threat we would honestly have at this juncture would be quantum computing. Now, when they figure out the dissonance issue with the qubits, and they can get more than 10 of them strung together, then okay, then we might need to start thinking on that level, and we do have a plan actually already beginning for that, just in case. However, we do not think we will need to enact anything within the next decade or two.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up question. What if someone damages their eyeball? This person
Um,
owns the wallet. I mean, they own the wallet, they own
yes.
the data behind it. It is legally theirs and it is identifiable as theirs. Then, in an accident, a very unfortunate one, they damage their eyeball. How do they access their own wallet,
So,
especially if their lives depend
so
on what they have in there?
correct. And yes, no, this is their identity. This is their records, their medical records, everything that they want to keep private to just themselves, and they want to share whenever they need to, or want to, or whatever. Um, yes, that's a lot. It's your wealth, it's your property, it's everything. So we have thought about that. We are working on a solution for that particular item. We do have it, I would say, about 90% formulated. So we are very confident that we can surmount that. However, that I do believe, once again, I'm going to need clearance on that one, because I don't think we've uh, yeah, that one's still in the chamber. But we have thought about that, and I think the best that I can tell you is that there will be a progressive analysis that will lead on a particular percentage, because we're dealing with a lot of very unique points within the retina. So there, yes, okay, so you got diabetes, you have you know, maybe a car accident, or a bar fight, or a hernia of, I'm sorry, not a hernia, but an aneurysm of some type. Um, then there's many medical. We've looked into all of the medical reasons why an eye could go bad, and we have found we've found a progressive analysis method that will help surmount that, regardless what happens. Now, with okay, yeah, I think that's about as much as I should say on that point.
Sure.
Just to back him
And
up a little, a lot of what we're touching upon now is also in the patenting process. So we cannot, due to our patent lawyer, he's advising us to keep shut until they have been filed, which is also a little bit why we have been less cryptic now, since we actually have filed our patents and whatnot. But that's why we have been keeping things a little bit under the radar, so to say.
okay, thank you for that. I appreciate your honesty. Um, Well, looking towards the future, then, who do you believe are going to be your biggest competitors? Because essentially, what you are creating is a better, stronger, and more innovative form of data security. Who are your biggest competitors, and who do you believe, both in CeFi, DeFi, and traditional industries, are going to be the main competition for the market?
Well, for Unbox, I do believe Unbox will fall into that category of having competitors and things like this. However, the core technology that we are launching through Pandora's, this as Suryan stated, NDI, and the KYN, and this whole patent process that we're currently going through. Um, this technology is actually not meant to even have a competitor. It's meant to be more of a foundational component that everybody uses. It's meant to be open source. It is meant for uh, all existing companies now that prefer to look at the the blockbuster Netflix problem in the right light. Then yes, they can adopt it, they can use it. That's what it's for. This is meant to essentially spread into all markets in a very, like for instance, so we currently call it C2, That name might change, it might not. But this is some the C2 technology, or the sentence of we're using C2 technology is something you're probably going to find on page 352 of the TOS of whatever platform you're logging into. You're not even going to really know it was there. It's more of a foundational thing.
And yet again, we won't have too many competitors, at least in the exact fields we're working in, due to the patent process, the legalities around all of that, and that will support the Unbox.
I got a question.
Yeah, please shoot.
Just curious, and you may have already touched on this, but as far as hardware goes for this retinal scanning process, will it be something when it's finished that everyone's going to have to buy some new hardware to use, or will it be something that can use pre-existing tech in everybody's phones and whatnot?
This is a very good question, actually. We know, we have already 9 hardware patents that we are going to set in place. Whoa, let me move away from that one. So I can't 100% touch on exactly how this will look like, but considering the future of how things is looking like at this point, is that new technologies that is coming out will have built-in technology that will fit into our model. For example, the new iPhones and all the things already is working on retina scans to be built into the newer devices. So this is a matter of
Oh, we lost you, Suryan. We cannot hear you anymore.
Oh, good. I thought that was from my side.
No, he was talking and
Well,
then he was gone.
Essentially, what he was saying is that we have identified, and thank you, Isa, for that question. That's a good one. It's actually a critical one that we've been over a little bit. Let's put it that way. Like, wait, okay, so we've got this. How do we put it out there? But after analyzing what the cameras that are getting released in the newer phones, everything pretty much covers it. There may or may not be a hardware function that we are working on ourselves. As for buying it, I mean, yes, people are going to have to buy it. They're going to, we already see how the phone market goes. The next new phone is everybody's got to have it anyways. So we're kind of riding on the coattails of that when it comes to just standard technology that's available. However, we are working on developing a bit of hardware ourselves that we can add into this structure.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's
Can you
that's
another
on with the
question?
list. Sorry. My computer crashed earlier, so my list was lost. So the first question that came to my head was the biometric stuff. But
Mhm.
I bet Sorian is going to be real happy that I said list and not couple. Right. So let's talk about your NFTs. How would the principle behind the NFTs that Unbox produces, such as the NFTs backed by assets, be any different from the current NFT certification for things like carbon credits, property, IP rights that are already being considered and, in fact, applied in countries such as the UK, Turkey, and Dubai? So, really, what makes your process different?
several
Good
layers
question.
to your answer there, to be honest, because there is several layers of protocols that we are going to release, some of which in its bare form will probably not be as different from some of the functions that you already have. But once we now start to cut in with the NDI and the identity backing systems, once we have all of these encryption systems up and running, we will have quite a unique edge of the whole system, because now you can, like, we have solved one of the problems that crypto has today when it comes to litigation, as example. Like, sure, you can put your house into an NFT, but how are you going to litigate that? How are you going to make sure that you sell your house and that person that buys it actually now legally own the house? Because you know nothing of the person that bought it. Like, but in this case, now you don't need to know anything about it because the system knows about it, and like whatever signatures needs to be signed is signed and transaction done. So what I see is that we will essentially be able to function as a secondary layer for all of these protocols when it comes to verifying either the identity of such entity, or is it like you can have multi-sig of identities. Let's say there is a board of directors that is owning some company that is doing a lot of or something in carbon credit or car sales. It doesn't really matter. Then we can function as a middle layer, also as a multi-sig essentially as well inside of all of this. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Do you believe that is a big enough difference and a big enough improvement on what's currently available that it's commercially viable?
100%, because what we're talking now is instant KYC AML for services that you want to interact with. You have, like, you carry your identity in your pocket, like, or sorry, it's actually your eye is your identity. Like, you can log into somebody else's device and you're in your own wallet. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure, because now you're coming to a point where you can have contract signatures, you can have all sorts of things backing up any transaction that is happening inside of the ecosystem.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next of your this little barrage. So you named it the NDI. Why didn't you say something along the lines of NHDI, so non-hackable digital identity instead? And why did you choose to stick to the 3-letter format? Because obviously some people might find it confusing with other acronyms that are already out there.
Simply for the fact that non-hackable, when we write it, it's with I don't know the name of this word. There's just a line in the middle.
Hyphenated. You're looking for the hyphenated, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hyphenated.
Okay.
Well, we would honestly like to, after we really come out onto the world stage and get this technology out there, we would honestly like non-hackable to become just a base understanding. I think it needs to become something that is, oh, okay, this is coming from those guys, roger that, non-hackable. Let's move forward.
So you've answered those ones already, so that's fine. So let's get to the nitty-gritty and my absolute favorite subject, regulation and legislation. So this is a purely hypothetical thing. I just want to see where the team's mindset is at. Do you believe that the NDI system will lead to regulation requiring their use in some form? And do you believe that this will remove the idea of pseudo-anonymity in crypto and essentially result in exposing individuals who wish to remain purely private?
Okay, so firstly, the whole drive here is to allow the user to be completely anonymous unless they choose whether or not they want to share. Like, say, okay, let's put it this way. I get my NDI. I'm good to go now. My wallet's protected, but I would like an Amazon account because I need flower pots and so on and so forth, and of course I would like a Spotify account because I'm gonna need to listen to some music while I'm planting. I'd really like to buy a car since Grandma sent me some money, so that's cool. I'm gonna do that too. So I'll need an account with an online car salesman, so on and so forth. Now I can wrap all of these transactions into one. I can move forward with with account creation and a purchase via this method. So if I'm going to do that, then yes, I would most likely believe that there will be some regulations that come into play. However, I also think that we are circumventing a lot of need for regulation. Like, why do you need to regulate this? It's obviously this person. There cannot be a double, period. There is no way for there being a double. But yes, if you want to start building on governmental edge technology and things like this, where they're going to look at this and they go, okay, so how do we aggregate all of these people that are doing stuff with their own identities now? I'm sure that they're going to want to try at that, but I strongly feel that they will come up against the same wall that they came up against with Bitcoin, where I just, there's just no way to really regulate this except for, is it a security or your utility, one or the other, and then now we can get into regulations. But my personal opinion is that we will actually be rewriting with this particular technology a lot of the situations that even require regulation in the first place.
Okay, thank you. Again, follow-up question. If, for example, I was to log on to my Amazon account using the NDI, would they now have my information?
They will have whatever you give them. If Amazon wants your facial image, I would essentially flip them the bird and say, "There's Etsy too." But if they want your address, that's another thing that we've actually covered quite a bit. Is okay. So we've got people sending their addresses across the blockchain. How do we handle that one? Well, what you do is you encrypt it and you put a piece of hardware on the receiving end that understands what that address is in an encrypted manner, and then sends that data to the post office, so that therefore the merchant themselves don't even need to know your address, because they don't need to. There's systems in play that well, at least the U.S. postal system is working on right now. I'm not sure about other countries, but there are ways where you can send a package technically anonymously. Now, if there's something criminal inside of that package, then we can get into that, where, okay, this QR code needs to be expanded, so on and so forth. But I guess the short answer is it's essentially whatever they require of you and what you're willing to give. You can select those particular points of your own identity or data to share. If you do not want to, you do not have to.
Okay. So following on to consumer mindset for this concept, then, say I'm the average crypto user. I trade regularly. I participate in pre-sales. I do all of that. And the NDI is a completely separate thing, I'm aware, and it doesn't necessarily need to hold that information either. But if I were to say combine the information, say from my crypto accounts into the NDI, and I were to send that data, would it appeal really to individuals within the current market to do something that could potentially breach their anonymity, no matter how much security is placed behind it?
It's a very good question. Suryan?
Oh yes, tag him in. Come on, I've been waiting for this.
I've been sitting on a so how we see this is that all the information data points that we're talking about is not necessarily going to be accessible in any way, shape, or form by anybody, actually. And that's one of the missions that we're having in the background to make sure that it won't be hacked in that sense.
Dorian, it's very windy again and hard to hear you. If you can move
Okay.
to a quieter
Yeah,
spot and then speak closer to the mic. Thank you.
So the appeal in all of this is essentially that, like, through systems, we can have your wallets in what is in one system. You have your access and data points in one system. You have your files and your all of these things in a completely separate system. But it all has a like the same login system with yeah. I don't really see, as we're structuring it now, how it can be how it can be hackable, and this is for sure something that we need to have hackathons and people like white hat hackers and whatnot going over even before we start launching all of that. Yeah, the as an average trader, as for example, like I have a set of wallets that I need to have access to when it comes to my daily trading. Maybe interacting with different decentralized exchanges, and maybe I need to sometimes work into some obscure centralized exchange that requires my identity and all of these things, simply to have smooth transactions and maybe even to have arbitrage opportunities and whatnot. So I'm not sure if I 100% answered your question, but I yeah.
That's absolutely fine, Surya. And in fact, that question is an immensely difficult one, and it doesn't really have a right answer. Um, purely because there are a million different things you could do, but many things you really shouldn't do in order to well protect your users. So, oh, this is going to be fun. Stay on the mic. Let's talk about the transition then. So many users currently use seed phrases. They're very common in the industry. In fact, they're the most common way in order to interact with cryptocurrency, especially in DeFi. The second most, obviously, being through a brokerage or through centralized exchanges. So, how do you feel that current users will transition from seed phrases to hardware and the NDI?
I think a part of this transition will happen by simple use case and by simple accessibility, as I said, due to the coming technology change that is already coming. It's in the line. So due to that, it will be a gradual turnover, so to say. But at the same time, there will be such increased utility for everything that is around the cryptocurrencies and exchanges and beyond cryptocurrencies. We're talking traditional finance, we're talking banking systems, we're talking you want to buy a house on the other side of the planet. How do you start doing that? You can go in there, you can click a few buttons and so the utility of everything is growing.
Surian, you're windy again.
Yeah, you come in and out. It's
Pardon me. No, I should have. Here, it can't be windy. Did you hear the last part I was saying?
Sort of.
Okay. But yeah, that was it pretty much.
Okay.
I want to
cool.
add to this, if I may, which
Sure.
in adoption, you know, like we go through trouble. Well, trouble. We do additional things in order to increase our security. Like, for example, we know, okay, if we don't want to store our crypto on hot wallets or on exchanges, then we buy something like a ledger to put our crypto on. So we buy a piece of hardware in order to increase our security. So as the word gets out that this NDI, this system is more secure, and if at the beginning it requires purchasing hardware, I think the users who value their assets and value the non-hackability of the system will be the ones to be the early adopters of this, as they could see that the benefits of, you know, yes, okay, I have to purchase this piece of hardware, but in return I get this non-hackability, will be worth it. So I see that that could be a transition at first, and then as things grow, and like the guys have mentioned, that the technology becomes available on the iPhones, it'll become like, okay, it's just one of the features, or the other different types of cell phones. So anyway, just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Cryptic. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a fun one that I asked a lot of teams regardless. What would you do if your idea failed? How would you move Pandora's box further into the future? If this idea failed, no one really took it up, and generally it was a disaster for the project.
That's a really good question.
Oh yeah, it's completely brutal, but I prefer to address this with the team as well. So I'll give you a little time to think whilst I go through a story of how I did this before. A project had come to me before, sort of talking about the idea of implementing a universal KYC system. I won't name the project, but essentially what they would do is they would use a cryptographic authenticator, which had been preloaded with their information and then encoded. So basically, it would be pure app thing that you could install on your browser, and you would essentially be able to use that to KYC to exchanges. My first question was, why not just KYC to exchanges? And they said, there's a real need for this. Okay, what would you do if your idea failed? And it's a very difficult question to answer at the end of the day, because again, it is a hypothetical, but it is also immensely important to consider. There will be a million other projects out there after this one looking to create something similar. That's how all copycats go. And whilst I appreciate that you have patent protection only reaches out so far. So does copyright over code. So, and frankly, the crypto industry as it is right now is absolutely teeming with copy pastas. So if your idea failed and it just got shunted to the side, how would you rise up from that?
So what we're building here is essentially a piece of a smaller puzzle that we have been working on for quite some years, and this is essentially the starting point of this.
You mean
Um,
larger puzzle, Surian?
yeah,
No,
a much,
don't correct him. I like seeing him
Sorry.
stumble.
Okay.
but it's definitely something that where were we even? I got distracted. Can you repeat the question? Like, what?
Yeah, sure. What would you do if this idea failed?
Oh, yeah. So if this idea would fail, I would simply just move on to the next piece of the puzzle that we're working on, or restructure the idea that we're working on if that is the problem and that is a possibility. I don't see this as a possibility to fail in that sense, because the minds that we have put together, I can pretty much guarantee that we'll always come up with a solution for vast variety of problems, which means that we could always find ways to add value to the project.
Sure. Okay. I like that. That's a very good answer, frankly. It shows that you are looking to understand the market you're working in. But most importantly, and this is really at the end of the day, what if your idea failed is always going to have to be a situational awareness question. Because at the end of the day, your users are the one who pass judgment on whether your project is good or not, on whether what you're creating as part of a larger puzzle is good or not. And one mistake in the space is immensely dangerous. You need to have your unique selling points, and you need to be able to match those with your KPIs in order to make sure that your project succeeds long term. So if your idea failed isn't a question about what you would do, it's more about what you can do right now in order to make sure it succeeds. But your answer is very, very good. So I appreciate that. Um, Right. This is going into the interesting stuff because it is again hypothetical. A lot of things have yet to be proven, but this is a potential use of it. How would criminal elements use this new technology? And have you considered the impact of an NDI on the information trade and on criminal acts such as blackmail, smuggling, and the prostitution trade? If I don't have to store physical documents of my activities anymore, and I could store them in what is essentially my eyeball, which nobody else can access and is fully encrypted and protects my privacy to such a degree that not even the government or the police can access it in a trillion years. What's to stop me from abusing that in order to commit crimes?
Well, you don't blacklist the person on this level. You blacklist the wallet. You
Sure.
blacklist their entire asset holding. You blacklist anything that they touch. Now, if you do that to an individual, I honestly I don't care who you are or how deeply anonymous you think you might want to be. You're gonna freaking find a way to try to unlock that, and that I do believe will lead to a litigation process that can be quite powerful. That now, as a side note, this is one of and I thank you very much for that question. This is one of the things that we are currently researching and trying to figure out and configure is the legal structure of not only what we're doing but the implications that what we will do will have. And there is, I mentioned it before on a different AMA, that there is one system we are looking at, that's Jur, Jur, Jur token. They're on the VeChain blockchain. So they essentially what they're trying to do, or what, not trying, what they are doing is they're figuring out a way to put litigation on the blockchain. And so that is one example that we are looking towards. There's a few others as well. But yes, it is a major issue. That's something that needs to be handled, and we are definitely working on that particular item.
Okay, sure. I'm going to pose a situation to you then based on the previous question. I am a drug dealer. I only talk to my clients, people I know who will only work through the blockchain. I do not meet any of them. I leave them at drop-off points. I take care not to leave any digital footprint of myself, as it is 2022 and is generally very easy to track someone over that footprint. The only digital footprint I have, apart from my normal, non-drug related browsing activities, is the NDI. The NDI protects my data, and it makes sure that only the people who receive it know exactly what they're getting. how would anybody figure out that I am dealing drugs and not simply making trades?
How you go, like, how would you figure out decentralized or centralized encrypted email service, for example? How would you know that? Like, it doesn't really make a too big of a difference on the SMS service. Like, it's a connection service, essentially. So
Yeah,
I
A
don't
to point
necessarily
B.
see that this is a very necessarily the point that we would have to take somebody on. But yeah, as we mentioned, like, this is still something that we're discussing quite actively. Let's just put it like this, as this is a massive subject on how to see it. I can leave you with this. One of the ways that I think I can see coming up is essentially that if somebody breaks crimes or if somebody is accused of this or that and the other, then the courts would have to come in and essentially by court force you to log into the system, and then they would have access and give them access to the records, or by law say that you need to have turn over X record. But at the same time, I don't like that as well. There is so many. It's a double-edged sword in so many ways. Like, you want it, but at the same time you don't want it. Yeah, this is still still in the process of understanding. Let's just put it like this.
That's absolutely fine, and I really didn't expect a full answer there because let's face it, when it comes to court decisions, and I can vouch for this, especially in the UK, we are messy, like real messy with the decisions, and most of them are contradicting. And even if someone were to legislate for this particular incident, there is so many other things to consider that it would be a very, very big piece of legislation indeed. Because again, there are privacy laws. There are laws dictating that the courts can't take that information if that information is pertinent to like a personal subject. Heck, for example, there is this law in the UK which protects digital secrets. Essentially, these would be anything that relate to the value of a business. They would relate to the value of the country itself. So national secret type of stuff. I'm telling you this now. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's always a very, very big thing because those are protected to the highest degree of confidentiality, simply because they dictate how the country runs and functions, and perhaps some of its dirtiest secrets too. So there is certainly a lot of consideration for legislative procedure, and that's just in one country. If you're planning to be international, you're going to have to meet every single regulation everywhere, including international treaties. So, thank you
One
for answering my question. As I said, I wasn't really expecting anything big at this stage, but it's good that you are considering it. It's very important that these things are addressed ahead of time, because if they're not, then you could just be walking into sort of you could be walking onto a landmine, so to speak, and just implode or explode in this case. Um, okay. So that's pretty much all I have. I think I've covered the. Well, actually, here's one. Um, how big is the market for data security, and where and what percentage of that market do you think you'll be able to take?
Unfortunately, that is numbers that I do not have in front of me right now.
Sure. So let's just pose a hypothetical. The data security industry currently is worth $1 trillion. Completely hypothetical. Of that percentage, of that number, how much do you think you could take of it based on this invention alone?
Are you talking the total
The NDI.
entropy of it, or are you talking what time frame are you looking at now?
I would be
As
looking
a
towards well, let's talk about the patent length of itself. So let's say 20 years. How long do you think you could dominate the industry? And how much do you think you'd be able to take of it based on the fact that you have essentially the only right to produce this?
Once the system is fully up and running, I foresee this to take over a sizable market share. Let's just put it like this. Exactly what number it would be pure speculation at this point. But I do, yeah, if with the right marketing, with the right development, with the right security systems, with the right legalities and everything, we could easily take probably at least 50% or more.
I'd like to throw in a comment there. And team, stop me if you think it's appropriate, but my personal view on what we're doing is that we're actually going for 100%. We're looking to set a precedent, and I understand that's a heavy claim. However, if you look at the technology that we're building right now, it is a new precedent on how to handle identity. It gives the let's just put it this way. I do believe that there is a very high percentage of individuals that if they were presented with the ability to own their own identity and dictate how and when it was used, we're looking at good 100% of everybody. Even if they want to join a company that's going to quote unquote manage it for them, they're still going to want to use this because of what it implies, and because of what it implies and because of what it accomplishes, I do believe that within that 20-year time span, we will achieve heavy duty adoption, in my opinion. Simply because if I had nothing to do with this company and I saw this technology myself, and I thought of all the people that I've come in contact and the complaints that they have and the frustrations that they have and all of these things, if I took all of that into account, I would immediately know that, well, this company is about to change the way things are done, literally, and that's not just a claim. That's what's happening. And so I do believe that, as Suryan said, if we can get it out there in the correct light, then I think our percentage will be very, very, very high. And I would not shy away from 100%, in my opinion.
Okay, I genuinely enjoy the confidence. Thank you for that. Obviously, I'm not gonna mention anything about competition law and market shares, because that's treading into territory that is both immensely complicated and not something that I'm really qualified to speak on. But I do appreciate the confidence. I do like that you have faith in your product, and that does speak about you guys as a team. All right. Next question then.
There is Daniel, if you can hold off on 1 second there. We had someone else ask a question in the chat quite a while ago, so I just wanted to give their voice to their question, which was Chart Picasso asked, why not facial recognition? Why didn't we go with facial recognition?
Because it's hackable.
And the accuracy is not nearly as
good. So on
Correct.
What was it, on a facial recognition? You have one in, I don't know, a few thousand in the, I'd say,
false
how many
positive
times positives, while in with the retina in the systems that we're talking right now, like you have, was it 10 to the
78.
78, yeah, which essentially means like we can make a really massive key that is completely unique to every individual. Like you cannot do that with a facial recognition. Like there is fingerprint also has it's not it's not complex enough essentially for these kind of systems to fully function.
Well, all I got to do is steal your wine glass for a fingerprint.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, but now to be clear, there are stages that we are working up to. It really depends on the kind of funding that we can secure. I would like it to make it clear to the community that there may be stages to this process. We may not be able to come out 100% with the retina. There may be some beginning stages where we might need to rely on encrypted passwords, or even facial or fingerprint. However, it is our goal to get to the 100% completely unhackable stage as soon as possible. That fact relies upon our effect upon the community. It relies upon our effect upon investors and their ability to understand the technology that we're really actually dealing with. And if we're able to secure the right amount of funding to begin the development of what we need to develop, then yes, then that is our intention, is to go directly to completely unhackable.
Okay, fantastic. I'll be honest, I genuinely think the idea is simple enough to explain to a lot of people. You are forging a connection from A to B that is better than what we currently have, more secure, and can allow you to interact with a lot more things than simply other wallet addresses or contracts. So it's a great idea at the end of the day. Right, I have one final question, and this is just for me personally. Can I get mine in neon orange?
Is it in your color palette?
I will be honest, my color palette is somebody attacked a Jackson Pollock painting, and the scraps are sort of collaged together without any rhyme or reason. So if you're happy with that, then we can move forward and I can get my neon orange NDI device.
Roger that.
But yeah, thank you for answering my questions. I understand a lot of them are stuff that, aren't typically what in fact, some of them aren't typically what I ask any project for because I haven't prepared that far. But I knew I needed to give you guys a bit of a challenge. So there you go.
Well, we greatly appreciate your questions. I must say, we consider them very valuable because you tend to push into areas that, honestly, after you've been working on a project for so long, it's just something you just don't even want to focus on. You know what I mean? And you tend to understand those areas and point your questions towards them, which helps us redirect our attention. Go, yes, okay, that's right. That is a critical foundational stone that we need to work on. And so, thank you. I appreciate your questions.
No worries. I simply cannot wait until your next bunch of announcements.
They will be coming.
No worries. I will be jumping into these AMAs as regularly as I'm able, as long as Sorian is the one mostly doing the talking, because God damn it, I came in here to roast him. But no, Vikings just have to come in and defend.
He's got backup now.
You're a punching bag now.
Well, that's fine. That's honestly fine. I can just ramp it up a little bit more. Let me go do some research on international regulations on data privacy, and I will get back to you because frankly, this is going to be more and more painful if I can manage it every single time.
We have been
Very
warned.
nice.
Thank you, Ganyo. Okay, let me just circle back to the main chat to see if there are other questions. I think that was probably enough for today, but just, yeah, there are no others that I can see. Does anyone on the call have a question they want to ask by voice before we wrap up? No, nobody's unmuted.
So no one's really answered my last question. neon orange hardware device.
We'll consider it. We'll consider it.
This
You
isn't
know.
this isn't a we'll consider it moment. This is a yes, Ganyo, you are getting that disgustingly unnatural orange shade.
Okay,
And
look,
yes,
buddy,
it
if it really comes down to it, I got a can of neon orange spray paint in the garage. I will handle that myself. I
I want
guarantee it.
Suryan's face on it too.
The answer is yes,
Okay.
Ken. You can get your neon orange device.
Okay, neon orange aberration with Suryan's face on it. Great, that's all I wanted out of this.
Brilliant.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, we are going to wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank Joanna, Suryan, Viking, and Deckard on their team. I want to thank obviously Ganyo for his contribution with his pointed questions, and everyone else who had
Isa.
questions. Say again. Oh, and Isa.
Isa.
Yes, Isa. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
Isa
you,
showed
Isa. Yes, it's good to see. Yeah, I don't know if he's still there, but it was nice to see him pop up for sure. Thank you. And thank you everyone who had questions last week and this week. And thank you everyone who listened in either today live on the call or to anyone who will be listening to the replay later. Excuse me, we're so grateful to have you. And we will be talking to you in a couple of weeks for our AMA, which will be on August the 17th. Did I do the math right? Yes, I think it's 2 weeks from today. So that's all I have. This is Crypto Mystics signing out.